Why do you hate the people that you hate? I'm a principal. I hate parents who use their kids. Parents who really should have spent some in therapy before having kids. Parents who are really just children themselves in adult bodies, living out petty little intrigues and making parenting decisions based on how they think it makes them look on social media. I hate them. I've watched them screw up their kids year after year, and I'm burning out on my job because of it. Obviously, plenty of parents I've forgotten. People fade into the background if they never made much of an impression. But a small number of them, I still think about them daily, and I wish I could punch them in the face. I trusted them, and they showed me why I was wrong to do that. Simple as that. When I'm close with someone, they really have to do a lot to lose my trust, but once they do, it's over. They're loud and obnoxious, use their intelligence, if they have any, to belittle people and inflate their own ego. They're more than willing to kick someone's ass to show how much of a badass they are. I hate people that act holier than thou or pretend to know everything, even to the extent where they will ask you what something is and then pretend they just forgot about it. If we can't have a convo without you saying yes I know to everything, we aren't friends. Especially when they try to tell me about my own experiences, I have no patience for it. I hate exactly two people. One because he was supposed to be a friend, and instead he went behind my back and betrayed me multiple times in an effort to satisfy his own cravings, and the other because she hurt multiple members of my family both mentally and physically, and to this day shows no signs of remorse. Probably because they wronged me in some way, or I find them extremely annoying. I always give people a chance though, especially the ones that other people warn me about. I like to form my own opinions. I hate one person, my wife's mother. She did not allow my wife growing up to have friends, have a job, or learn how to drive. She deliberately stressed my wife out so much day in and day out, so my wife would get sick and always be vulnerable and dependent on her. When we got married, even though we lived with them for 3 years, she would violently yell at my wife every single day for not spending enough time with her. Luckily we are out and cut her off. I hope she dies alone and miserable. The only circumstance in which I would want to see my mother-in-law again is if she was in front of me having a heart attack, so the last thing she would see is me not calling 911. That they're a pedophile and got away with it and yet still allowed to stream on Twitch. She manipulated my best friends to hate me, constantly blaming me for things I didn't do or making me look obsessed with one of my friends just because I spent more time with her than with the others. We had a lot more in common, IDK, and saying that I was in love with her. I wasn't. Always saying bad and fake things about me. So I was kicked out of the group. Later I put her number on a lot of ads of growing penis creams LMAO. There's this kid who I loathe. I caught him staring at my ex's tits. She was uncomfortable with it, so I told him to not do it. He continued to do it and always gave me the smirk after. He then started going around making up some pretty serious rumors about me and friends that ended with a friend getting kicked out of school. Whenever I see him at school by himself, he turns away and doesn't even look at me, but as soon as he's with his friends or online, he becomes this thug and acts like he's the shit. I don't hate anyone. I don't have that kind of time. Bob Ross. My dad's girlfriend acts like a bad-tempered 4-year-old. Emotional intelligence on the negative scale. Gets jealous of me and my sister for spending time with our father. Insults us straight to our faces and even went as far as to say she wished we would die. Manipulative and narcissistico. Did I mention she also had an affair with my dad being completely aware he was married? I know it is my father's fault, but I also believe choosing not to be a homewrecker is setting the bar quite low. I hate my ex-best friend because she is super toxic. When I try to get out of our friendship, she sends me suicide threats from one of her like 43 Instagram accounts. I'm not joking, she has 43 accounts. She also got mad when I try to get her help. Anyone else going through this, just know you are good enough and it's not your fault. I'm a science teacher, and while I'm not a special ed teacher, I teach a class that often has kids with learning differences. In my state, those students should be in classes no larger than 12 with 2 other teachers there. Now, teaching most of the kids with LDs is always a challenge, but I don't mind it, because I know I can handle them and get them to the finish line. I think it's so fulfilling to give my students a place where they feel successful. At my previous school, my department head despised me. My first year, she just talked shit about me and called me an ethnic slur behind my back several times. Whatever. My second year, she blew up my classes to 24. Whatever. My students still ran circles around her students. In preparation of my third year, I found out she had gotten the parents of the LDs to sign a waiver of their state rights, without being honest of the circumstances, in order to take my co-teacher away, who was a special ed teacher that I worked closely with to help be successful. She then filed an our complaint against me and fucked her/our boss to get him to back her up. Everything she said was bullshit and projection. I don't care if you hate me and try to torpedo me. I'm almost a decade into teaching middle and high school. Come at me. But trying to hurt our most vulnerable population, who felt happy, successful, and smart, I fucking destroyed her in the hour battle. She got demoted. I got a new job somewhere else 3 years later. My class at my old school is a mess with the lowest passing rate of the entire school. My class had a 98% pass rate, with rigorous standards that they met, because they were supported. She has no business being in the profession, and I wish nothing but the worst for her. I wouldn't say hate, but I dislike this woman at my church. I have a young sister, 15, who she constantly writes unsolicited letters to about God and Satan and shit. It pisses me off how much advice she gives out that nobody asked for. No one else dislikes her and says she's really sweet. I feel like she's secretly insecure and judgmental. I only hate one person, but here's why. The day I met her, she gave me a fake scrunch-faced smile. I immediately disliked her, based on her lack of genuineness alone. My boss, who is male and the same age as she, was infatuated with her and showed constant favoritism when it came to dealing with me over her. I'm also female and of similar age, but I don't flirt with my boss. She has never once, in 2 years, taken the blame for her own mistakes. If her work is brought up to the group as who did this, she stays silent. If she is directly confronted about it, she says, "Oh, well, insert random person with no authority over her told me to do that. I didn't want to, but they insisted that their way was better." One time, I noticed some mistakes in passing on a document she had written up. Since I didn't have much time, I left a sticky note on the document pointing out the errors, figuring she or our boss would see it and change them the next day. Well, in our next meeting, she presents that document as something I wrote and presents the sticky note as something she noticed and complains that she's constantly having to fix mistakes like this, and my boss believes her. When she was on my level, I eventually got her demoted in a somewhat Machiavellian plan. She went along with it thinking I was advocating for her. She was constantly undermining my authority with our team and dragging my employees away from their work to socialize with her. Her mom is some huge deal in our field, so both of our bosses are infatuated with her because of her connections. But the truth is, she is one of our worst employees. If I had the authority, I would have fired her a year ago. She has done enough questionable things that ours would justify it. She's manipulative, a cheater, a liar, and a skanky bitch. She has fucked at least 2 guys in our department, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear that she also fucked our boss at some point. He acts like they did